Sure. Yeah. The second thing I would do, and I'm assuming we're getting into like all grain
Yeah,
brewing now, right?
right.
Somebody who's trying to take the leap into all grain brewing and stuff is there's a couple different things. Is is playing out around with your water. Water matters, right? Eventually, and so once you kind of honed in the process part of it, the fermentation part of it, the temperature control part of it, and you feel a little more comfortable. You got a few beers under or beers. You feel also beers, but you got a couple brews under your belt and beers, a lot more beers. But then you can kind of get into the realm of the water dishes. I know you said you started a little backwards with that, but to me, like I use spring water right away because I didn't know. But also you don't know what the chemistry of that spring water is. You don't know how many minerals are in there, what calcium chloride, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so there are really cool calculators. I use one on Brewer's Friend. There's different
Mhm.
ones on
That's a
Brewfather
good
and
one, yeah.
whatever other app you use, right? So I've just started using Brewer's Friend. So I use Brewer's Friend for everything else. I don't get sponsored by them. I just put all my recipes in there, and I've done that for years. But that allows you to adjust based on the style of beer you're making, right? So one of the things that is as people get started, if you make like a pale ale or an IPA, you have a different ratio of salts that you want to add versus if you make, say, like a hazy, which wants to be this kind of more pillowy mouthfeel, that kind of stuff. Well, a lot of that isn't necessarily the ingredients you're using, which some of it is, and the yeast you're using, some of it is, but a lot of it has to do with the water and the amount. They have a what they call a sulfate, chloride sulfate ratio in there, right? And the more the one side, the more of one versus the other will make it either more um, crisp and bitter and have a lot more bite to it, and that's like the sulfate side of it. Or if you add more chloride to it, you get this more pillowy mouthfeel where you get this like almost feels like thicker and creamier,
Mhm.
right? And that's where you get the hazy IPA. So hazy IPAs were kind of invented because they were kind of going against the West Coast. They were kind of trying to be different, but still a lot of hops. They just flipped that water addition a little bit, and so that's really kind of all I do is I keep a similar water profile, for hazy IPAs as I do for, like, a pale ale. I just kind of flip the sulfate and chloride ratio around.
Okay,
So,
yeah, that's
usually you
interesting.
have, like, a 50 to 150, and then now it's, like, it's 150 to 50 instead, right? So it's either 3 to 1 or 2 to 1
Mhm.
on this on the hazy. So I know I'm getting a little for people who aren't familiar with the water addition process,
Right.
but the calculators are pretty easy on some of those. That some of the calculators will just tell you what to do based on the style you're doing. Like here's how much you need to add, right? Based on your so the first thing you need to know is what your water is, right? So there are tests you can do, or you can even go on like Brewers Friends has a page where you can search, like if you live in Charlotte, North Carolina, you can search Charlotte and it will tell you water reports that people have submitted on there,
Mm,
and you
mhm,
can get relatively close to what your water's going to
mhm.
be. The best way to do it though, if you really want to be, if you're going to be like a brewer or like me, I've done this because I'm a nerd and I want to know, but I sent in a little vial for like 35 bucks to Ward Labs,
Mhm.
and they actually sent me back a little thing and said, here's your exact water report for brewing. I was like, sweet, that's awesome, right? So I got this little water report now. I use that because I know that's like from my house, right? And so, the same source I'm going to get it from, I'm going to use that for brewing. So now I plug in those numbers, and it says, okay, based on the amount of calcium and sodium and
Mhm.
bicarbonates and stuff that you have in your water,